Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Barbecue Roundtable. I'm your host, Jason Hardy with EliteBBQSmokers. And we got a great group of guests today. Well, we got one guest today. It's a good friend of mine. It's going to be a lot of fun there. But this video right now is sponsored today by Snake River Farms. If you go down link below and get the descriptions in the below the links, you can go there and use the code SUPERDAD and get free shipping today and tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. Good time. They'll ship it to you Father's Day. You'll have it in time. But this video is brought to you today by Snake River Farms. Now, let's get Mr. Darrin here. Let's get the party started. So our guest on here today is a good friend of mine. We met last year at American Royal, and we've stayed in touch, and we've got a little bit of history with some other things we're doing that's kind of sharing the same passion. But I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we get started.
Yeah, I'm Darrin. I am the head cook for ASH KICKIN BBQ. We are based out of Minnesota. And yeah, between the comps and everything else, I have time to do YouTube and some catering and very busy daily life and schedule. There's not much free time.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing is we met last year at the American Royal doing competition, and I was just getting into YouTube. And Darrin, you've been doing it for a number of years, or for further than I have, longer than I have.
Yeah, I think 2019 is kind of when I started. I dropped one video and then was like, okay, whatever. I did a video, and then Father's Day weekend. That weekend, I think it was Father's Day, it exploded, or Memorial Weekend. I mean, it was 100,000 views, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then I think I did one more video shortly after that, and then I didn't make one for a long time, and then finally started making them again. And then last year, I think it was last year, the year before, I did at least one video every week, and things just kind of took off. And then, I mean, it's when you're cooking competitions, throughout the summer and stuff, it's hard to film a video, could go to a competition, prep for a competition, and still do everything else in life. So
yeah, it's definitely when you start, like I said, start filming it and start trying to plan for competition and do all this stuff in there, and plus we work and everything else. It's just like your days go by so fast, and you just like, crap, where'd that go?
Yeah.
Especially everybody starts saying, well, you need to start putting out 2 videos a week. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, no, there's no chance. If I'd stop doing competitions and catering, maybe I would do it. But I don't. I still want to keep doing competitions for the foreseeable future, and I enjoy the catering aspect of things. So it's one video a week, and that's pushing it. When it's not comp season, I usually don't have a problem. But then it's winter here in Minnesota, so cooking in Minnesota and trying to film in Minnesota when it's you get 6 months of winter, it feels like, or longer. It's tough to do. So, and nobody wants to be outside running stick burners or cans when it's -30 out. So that's where the pellet grills come in handy.
So kind of a funny story on that is, so last year we had a snowstorm come through here. Now I live outside Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Okay. When it snows here, it's like national holiday. The whole damn world stops. Okay. It's the end of the world. And I we've had some snow. I'm out there I'm going duck hunting, geared up in all my stuff. And I had a little short clip, our YouTube video has been delayed. I put that on YouTube, and some people from the northern parts of the country, up north somewhere, they dragged me to devil for that. I'm like, y'all, listen, here's the deal. I am South Carolina. When it gets snows outside, there ain't no sense me being out there because I don't like that crap.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, and we had a record snowfall this year. It was one of the top 10 snowiest snowfalls for Minnesota. So I can't remember what the totals were, but it was incredible, and it just felt like it was never going to end. And I had just gotten my Lone Star stick burner. Oh, it was in November, or close to the end of November, close to December, and I remember I had it delivered to my local Ace, and I loaded it up on the trailer, brought it to the house. So it took 3 of us to load it up on the trailer, and then I brought it to the house. And the house that I was in prior had a really steep driveway, so I was unloading it off the trailer, and I literally just slid down the driveway and had to take everything out of the smoker, like the griddle plate, the grill plate, all the racks, like as much as I possibly could. It was incredible. It took me like 45 minutes to like hump it back up the driveway into the garage. And I was like, okay, well, I think I'll wait until there's no more ice on the driveway for that to fire that up. And then the first like 30-degree day I'm out there, I'm like, oh, it's 30 degrees. It's like shorts weather here in Minnesota. Let's get that thing fired up.
Oh man. Golly bum. We done the contest one time in the mountains in Virginia up there in Whitfield, and a storm came through and it was cold and everything else out there. I'm cooking. I'm sitting there thinking like, I was cooking in cans and still am. I'm like, why am I doing this again?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I've wondered that too. We did Altoona, Iowa last year, and that was like the first weekend in April. And it's crazy. Like, so that's about almost 4 hours away. And just the temperature difference from there to home was significant. Like we still had a ton of snow on the ground at home. And then we get down there and there's no snow. There's no anything. It was like 55 degrees. It was nice. And then woke up in the morning and it was windy, like freezing rain. And I literally set the cans up, and I had rented a trailer that I got dropped off down there. And I was sitting at the dinette with a cup of coffee, just staring out the window, watching the cans. And I was like, this is dumb. Like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, but we ended up one call RGC that second place brisket and RGC the comp.
Wow.
So that's cool.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right, well, kind of let's back up a minute here. So, first off, and how did you get into cooking? Not competition barbecue, but how did you get the passion for cooking to start with?
So my grandpa and my uncle and my dad, they all had grilled and had smokers and stuff like that. And I can remember them doing it from when I was little. My grandpa specifically, he was really big into smoking salmon. And so I used to always watch him do it. And I actually have he has like a little can smoker, and I have that in my garage now. And that's all he ever used it for was salmon. So I've never used it. I just have it sitting out there just because, it was my grandpa's and stuff. And he doesn't use it anymore. So when they sold the cabin, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I can't bring myself to use it because number one, I don't even know how he did it on that thing, because it's like tinfoil, but he made it work. And then, my dad always cooking and stuff. And then I got like an old Brinkman smoker from my uncle. And I remember I was so excited to try and cook some salmon on it, or I think it was salmon or something. I don't know. We cooked something on it. It was my buddy and I were sitting there having beers, and we ate it. And we're like, oh, this is fantastic. And like a little while later, we were both so sick. We got like food poisoning from it. And,
oh, man.
I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And then, so yeah, I was always like just grilling and hanging out and stuff. Didn't really get into barbecue until a guy that I had worked with, he did competitions, him and his buddies, and they needed someone to go down to a competition with them. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll go down with you, And so it was a KCBS comp, and it was kind of a cool comp. They provided all the meat for you. It was like a $400 entry fee, and everyone got the same meat. It was all donated from like Hy-Vee. Yeah. And it was baby back ribs, chicken thighs, like two pork butts, and then just like a prime brisket. So everyone was on an equal playing field, which was, and now in retrospect is kind of cool. And I remember not knowing what they were doing. I'm watching these guys like scrape skins on these chicken thighs, and I'm just sitting there drinking. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, this is ridiculous. And then I remember nobody had any chicken brine. So I was like Googling, like, what can we use for a chicken brine? And somebody's the old school recipe, the Italian dressing. So I walked down to the store and picked up a couple bottles of zesty Italian dressing. We marinated in that. Well, when we had them on the can, the skins shrunk up to like little postage stamps. So we took the skins off, seasoned the thighs, and got the color back on them, and turned in skinless bone-in chicken thighs. We got like 11th place chicken or something, and a pork call. And so I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. You get to go party and have fun and do all that. And so then I was kind of hooked. And then we did I did like another comp with them. So they used to have a contest up here called Fire on Ice, and it was like in March, and they would do it on one of the big lakes in northern Minnesota. So you'd be out on the lake cooking, and it was awesome. So we did that, and there was like 10 of us that went, and it was just a huge party. We were up till like 5 a.m. partying and stuff. And I got home from that, and I'm like, you know what? I can sit and drink at my house and not spend $1,000 on a contest. So if I'm going to do this, like, I want to win. So then it just kind of progressed to getting serious about it. And I cooked under their team name for like a year. And then like the following year is when I started the ASH Kickin' BBQ and been cooking under it ever since.
So how'd you put the name ASH Kickin' BBQ?
Oh, so when I first
that was kind of wait a minute. This is a prelude to a name here. When you start giving a breath out like that, like crap, you had to ask me that one question in life. That's a prelude and a half there.
So when I did my first YouTube video, my channel was Backyard Barbecue, and it was just like so ridiculous. And like I had like propped my phone up in the cupboard to like film me, and just had like this weird angle. And actually, my dog was like humping a teddy bear in the background of the video, and like I didn't notice it, but it was like during some detailed instruction, so I couldn't leave it out. And so I'm like, okay, well, Backyard Barbecue is just silly. Like there's like 80 of them on there. Like I need to figure out something. And so at the time, then my like Instagram handle, I wanted it to be like BBQ for life, but that was taken. So it was BBQ for LFE. And I'm like, okay, well, this is silly. So I don't even know how it came into play, but I just thought of it one day, and that's what we went with, and then started getting logos made and stuff like that. And it just kind of took off, and it's just stuck. And I don't know, I just thought it was kind of cool.
It's a cool name, cool logo. How many times your name being called a competition, they pronounce it wrong?
Not as often as you'd think. There's been a few times where it's been Ass Kickin' BBQ, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not what it is. They usually catch themselves. They'll be like Ash Kickin' BBQ, and I'm like, all right, well, close enough. But yeah, it's I try to when I enter the contest forms or when I fill them out, I try to like write in all capitals so it can't be confused, and I'm like using the best print I possibly can. And yeah, so it usually gets pronounced correctly, but there's a few of them where like if I haven't cooked it before, that's where it usually gets me. Is if it's a new comp for me, they don't know who I am, and then they're like, oh, okay. Or even like some like local like charity comps and stuff like that. If I do those, then sometimes they get it, but yeah, not as often as you'd think, surprisingly, which is good because, you know, I don't need kids walking around saying Ass Kickin' BBQ. So
I know. Hey, they get mine wrong. It's EliteBBQSmokers, and they always say Elite. I think half the time, I think running joke anymore, but
I was watching one of these lives and you had said that, and I'm like, how do you mess that up? like how do you get that wrong? Yeah. Yeah. That'll do it. That'll do it.
It's a little bit this extra liquid encouragement, and people do it. They actually started. We was doing a contest at a Shriner event, and those guys were having a good time, and they started calling. We RGC the contest, the first RGC, and they called our name 5 times there, and all 5 times it was 5 different names, and I was like, at least we got to walk the stage, man. At least we got to walk the stage.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, and then, you know, you hear Ass Kickin' BBQ and you're like, well, is there someone else here with that name? Should I be going up on stage, or like, is that me? There's been a few times where I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. All right. And then you go up there but yeah, it's funny when it happens, but.
You know, you were saying some while ago about your chicken, about you turning in skinless chicken thighs and got a call. We did a contest years ago, and we were doing it and turned chicken in, and we were right there at the wire. I remember us tasting a piece, and it was the skin was rubbery, and I looked at it and I'm like, well, this ain't gonna do good. And my wife was with me, and I was like, well, this ain't gonna do good at all. So there ain't no sense worrying about it. So I took the skins and pulled every one of them off, dumped them in the box, and dumped them in the sauce, put them in the box, and turned it in. We got 3rd place chicken.
That's funny.
I mean, it was just like I knew it with the skin the way it wasn't going to work. So I mean, what's it going to do? It's not going to kill me. Take the skin off, because the skin's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But it was just, the fact is that sometimes I think we so overthink everything.
Yeah.
That sometimes you just got to turn in what's good.
Right.
And competition, just turn in what's good. And that's kind of what you made that comment, kind of brought that back to mind.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think that's just it. It just goes to show you, like, okay, you popped out a third place chicken, whereas if you left that skin on, you probably wouldn't have got third place chicken. So it just kind of goes against everything that we think about doing when we're cooking, is like, oh man, this one little piece of a string of brisket on the front slice is going to dock me on my presentation. When realistically, the quick second they have to look at it probably isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I want my box to look pretty. I'm not going to say I don't. I want it to look pretty. But I'm going to sacrifice pretty for what's good in that box. I mean, we won ribs this weekend before last, and we had 6 bones from 4 different racks of ribs in that box.
Wow.
I mean, I took 2 from each one, with 3 different racks, actually, not 2, 4, 3 different racks, 2 from each one, put in the box, and get a good call. And I'm sitting going like, why do I care if they look good?
Yeah.
But that's so hard to get through our head.
Especially because you can control the presentation points, right? Like, that's the one thing that you can control. I mean, for the most part, like, you can, when I'm boxing something, I should look at it and be like, that's going to be a 9. Like, that's my thought process. When in reality, you know, an 8 on presentation and 9s on taste and tenderness probably wouldn't be a bad thing. Versus 9 on appearance and 8s on taste and tenderness, So that's, we're our own biggest enemies. We're in our own biggest ways half the time. And I've tried to be mindful of that the past 2 years, and kind of getting into a groove with things, and, controlling what I can control. And good buddy of mine told me, worry about the big things Monday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, you worry about the little things. And so that's kind of the motto I've tried to bring to the table with, the guys that I cook with and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, man, that's the thing about it. And the other thing we're talking about kind of before the show, whatever, is, and you were saying it kind of this weekend whenever you went and done a Babe Ruth on it. So explain kind of what you're talking about when you're saying that went in there with a mindset, all right, we're going to go in here and just give it our all.
So this competition last year was kind of like my first year of really hitting like a good amount of competitions. We had always done 2 or 3, and I really enjoyed it, but the logistics of it for traveling and everything else. There used to be a lot more in Minnesota, and even like in Wisconsin last year, there was more than there was this year. And so the traveling of it, and, I don't have a trailer or camper right now. So when my buddy goes, we use his, otherwise we're renting and stuff like that. But last year I just decided, okay, I want to do like at least 8. I want to do at least 8, which isn't many compared to, some of these guys that are out there cooking every weekend. But for a newer team getting into it, that's a good amount. I said like 8 or 10. And so we cooked Iowa for the first time last year. We cooked Wisconsin for the first time last year, a couple times. And we went out to this contest last year, and we rent a cabin out there just because it's kind of like cooking at the cabin at the lake. We got a good view and stuff like that. And day 1, we got 3rd place. We missed RGC by like half a point or something like that. So we got 3rd place, 1st place chicken with like a 177. It was just a good cook. And day 2, I actually had to pack up and leave early, so I wasn't there for awards. So my buddy, Brian, he actually gets up and gets the big meats on and runs the cans. He's the can man. And he stayed for awards, and I'm watching him on the way home, and they get the chicken or whatever, 1st place chicken. It's ASH KICKIN BBQ with a 180. I'm like, all right, we're on a roll. First 180, like, things are good. I can't remember what the other call was. We get to pork, and pork has always been my demise. Like, I don't know what the deal is with pork, but I cannot figure it out. Like, the tenderness is just always getting to me. And we got like a 2nd place pork call that we tied with. So I think we got bumped down to 3rd. And then right as they're about to announce RGC and GC, my phone cut out. And so I missed it. And then, I find out that we get RGC. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, we missed 700. We missed 700 by like a fifth of a point or something. It was super close. And so when we got there this year, I was like, all right, we got third place last year, day one, second place last year, day two. There's only one spot we have to go. We're going to win this thing tomorrow with a 700 plus. And, you know, I kind of got a couple of well, you haven't cooked Wisconsin enough. It's weird out here. And especially the further east you go and stuff like that. I'm like, whatever, like I'm feeling good. We got good meats. You know, all we got to do is not get too tuned up tonight and everything's going to be good tomorrow. Well, I didn't get out there until 7:30 at night, Friday night. So usually I'm there early on Friday. My chicken goes in the brine at 3. It's out by 7. Well, I didn't get the chicken in the brine until almost 8. So we didn't get it out of the brine until after midnight. So everything's already kind of thrown off. You know, I've had a few more cocktails than I wanted to, and famous last words. So we get that done and we get up and everything was just rolling. Like things were getting done. It was warm out. So things were getting done quicker. My chicken was done an hour early. And I'm like, all right, in the Canberra that goes. So that sat there. And yeah, I got third place chicken day one. And it was third place chicken, 12th place ribs, 4th place pork, and 1st place brisket. So it was a good showing. And I was super pumped because I'm just like, I wanted that 700 so bad last year. And you know, we hit it. And we started after that contest last year, we started clicking. And I think every contest I cooked last year, except for the Royal, was a top 10 finish. I had 1 GC and 3 RGCs last year. And yeah, it was a really good year. And then, you know, we go out to the first contest this year, no calls, no top 10. And I was like, woof, like not a good start. And we got like 2 inches of rain that weekend. And then we go out to the next one. We got a couple good calls, finished 4th place overall. So we had kind of gotten back into the swing of things going out there this weekend. And I think just having the good meat and having everything, you know, an idea of what we were going to be doing regardless, just going into that with the game plan and worrying about the big stuff during the week and just worrying about the little stuff during the cook really kind of played off on that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the question that we talked about beforehand. We kind of asked in the show notes and stuff here about this is does cooking and practicing help in competition barbecue? And I kind of get your take on that. We talked about it a little bit ahead of time, but kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, 100%. You'll never convince me that it doesn't, because it becomes such a repetition and you get so comfortable with the cook that, you know, when you go into it on Saturday, it's just like, okay, I've done this 100 times this year in practice. Like I know what I'm looking for. I know my timeline. Like I have a laminated 3-ring binder with my timeline on it and I follow it pretty religiously. You know, I got all the alarms in my phone for when it's time to do everything. And I kind of stick to, you know, I plan my work my plan. And I think it's a huge help. You know, I've been Minnesota Chicken Team of the Year 2 years in a row now. And that first year going into it, I was cooking chicken thighs at least 3-4 days a week. And, you know, every weekend for sure leading up to that first contest. Cause I'm like, okay, I really want to figure out how to cook chicken. Like everyone hates chicken, but I want to figure out how to do it. And I like cooking chicken and I like trimming chicken. To me, everyone's like, oh, it's the prep on it. I'm like, well, whatever, you know, it is what it is. You got to do it. But yeah, 100%. And then, you know, I was practicing ribs and, you know, brisket. And you know, obviously the biggest thing for brisket is the tenderness. And it's like, once you figure it out, you're like, oh, that's what I'm looking for every time. Yeah. But you can't, for me, if I'm just going to go to a comp and use that as a practice, I mean, I'm just donating money at that point, right? Like I want to have at least an idea of what I'm doing. And so when practicing, I'm like, okay, this is the flavor profile. This is the tenderness. I got the good bite on the skin. This is what we're rolling with. And when it finally pays off, you're like, okay, well, I'm glad I practiced all that because this is in my mind what I was looking for. And that's what I achieved. And I got a call on it. So, you know, and I don't have as much time to do it now. Going into that first contest, I wish I would have had a little more time to run a few practice cooks, but I didn't. And, you know, the results kind of showing that. And it is what it is. But now we're into the full swing of things now. And life's good. So
I think that's another, like you were talking about, basically your timeline, your whole process. And I think when you do that, one of the pieces you start making, including that in that conversation, is Cambro management. I think when we start, that's one of the things I don't believe people truly appreciate so much is when you start thinking about the whole cook process. And a lot of people think, well, I take off the smoker, I'm done with it. It's where I want it at. I'm going to set it over here to Cambro and we're golden. No, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
You got to consider what it's going to do after you take off that smoker, whether it's going to continue to cook, whether it's cool down so much it's going to tighten back up. You constantly got to do it because until you turn it in, it's your baby. You got to control every bit of it. Mm-hmm. And getting to your point you were saying about with chicken, it takes a lot of time to trim chicken, get everything else. It does, but if you look at the whole scheme of things, it doesn't. If you look at the entire time from prep time, cook time to presentation time, all the meats take the same amount of time. Mm-hmm. If you spend an hour and a half trimming chicken, you spend an hour and a half cooking chicken, you spend 30 minutes boxing chicken, I mean, you're looking at 3.5 hours of time? You got 3.5 hours in ribs. You got 3.5 hours at least in brisket and pork. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the entire thing, but chicken is a lot more upfront prep than on the back end prep for me. Now you might be a little different, but that's my take on it.
Yeah. I mean, so I was cooking 16 thighs for a long time, and finally I'm like, it's just too much. Like I'm done. So I dropped down to 12 thighs. And actually I've been running thighs and wings for the past 2 years now. So I got to, prep wings too, which is no big deal. But I wanted to drop down to 9 thighs. But my teammate, Brian, he's like, chicken's cheap and I really like the leftovers. I'm like, okay. So I send him a picture. He was out at the contest on Thursday night partying with everyone. I'm at home trimming 24 chicken thighs. I send him a picture. I'm like, well, here's the 24 thighs that we needed because someone likes the leftovers, For me, it's like, I just want 6 good ones. Let's turn them in and be done with this. So, but yeah, I don't know. I like my chicken. It's probably I think it's probably my favorite thing that I cook is my chicken. So,
yeah, I'm liking chicken more, but chicken's the one piece of meat that when I get ready to turn it in, I can taste it. I can tell you whether it's going to be good or bad. Mm-hmm. And we still tweaking on, but we cook so much of it. I mean, it's the other side of the conversation you were talking about is with YouTube side of it. Because both of us do a YouTube channel, and what I have experienced with a YouTube channel is it's made me a better cook because I'm having to focus and explain what I'm doing while I'm talking out loud and talking to a camera and going through it, and sometimes saying it 2 or 3 times because I didn't like the way I said it or whatever.
Yeah.
Y'all, nobody does that, but just me, of course.
Yeah.
If you want, back up a minute here. If y'all want to see what it's like to film a video, we just posted videos past Sunday about baby back ribs. Now, we were having a good time Memorial Day weekend.
I watched that.
Did you watch that?
Yeah.
I mean, that first part of that video is perfectly explaining creating YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's like your mind is going one direction. Your mind's going in one direction. All of a sudden, my wife's usually on the other side of cameras, and she says, that ain't right. I'm like, well, shit.
Baby backs. Take 42.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun making that video. Yeah. But anyhow, but I think that's the point is we sitting there and the whole time we're doing this, we're saying it, talking through the process. It makes us a better cook, better practicing. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And I actually, when I do my YouTube videos, I kind of look at each cook as an opportunity to practice my tenderness game for comps. I'm not into the, fall off the bone ribs and everything else like that. I want that good bite rib. And I tell them, I say on there, if you want it more tender, like just cook them a little bit longer in the wrap. That's all you need to do. But this is what I like. You cook it how you like. Yeah. And so even if it's not a competition recipe, I'm trying to, it's an opportunity for me to practice. So I kind of get to double down. I get to run a practice. I get to make a video, and I get to hope that it does well,
Yeah. And I think that's something other that we've been able to do with this, the YouTube side, especially with just brisket. Mm-hmm. And I've said this, you're not going to cook a commodity brisket, a prime or a choice brisket. It's not going to turn out like Wagyu brisket.
Yeah.
But what you can do is learn to trim that sucker. What you can learn is learn fire control, temperature control, what it's going to do. It's not going to taste the same, but there's a lot of pieces you can learn on that piece of meat. It's a lot cheaper than a Wagyu that's going to help you go into the process.
Yep.
I mean, but I'll say right now, if you want burn ends, cook a prime. Don't worry about no breast.
Yeah.
Don't worry about no Wagyu burn ends. Go prime.
I don't cook prime. I don't cook burnt ends. So if I did, I would buy prime brisket and take the prime point with me. I wouldn't be cooking. You know, I cook Snake River Farm blacks for competitions. I don't cook golds, and people give me a lot of crap about that. You know, they're like, "Why don't you step up to golds?" I was like, "Why would I?" Like, I'm getting calls. I got 7th place brisket call at the Open at the Royal. Why would I switch to golds? You know, it's what I'm comfortable cooking.
I've cooked blacks for years, and I love the blacks. I love the consistency of the blacks. I love the size of the blacks. I love the way they handle the smoke. I like them. I've cooked golds. I've got nothing against golds. But at the end of the day, I know that black's going to be able to handle me slamming it with heat and what it's going to do. And for me, I do it and I enjoy cooking on it. Now, again, I'm cooking on cans.
Yep.
For guys that's cooking on stick burners, on backwoods or whatever, it's going to act totally different. But for me with cans, I know what that black's going to do for me.
Yeah, and I cook on gateways. I cook on cans too.
Yeah,
and so for me, that's what I started cooking was the Snake River Farm blacks. Granted, I did start off with like the 14 to 16 pounders, and then I went to the 16 to 18s, and now I'm cooking the 20 to 22s. And that's just kind of the happy medium I found where you can get a good thick flat, and the ones I had this weekend, I mean, they were over 2 inches thick. They're beautiful. And so, you know, why would I change it? You know, I don't, you know, number one, good marbling is good marbling. If you find good marbling in a black, it's going to cook just as well as a gold, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. And there's no way that judge is going to know if it's a gold or a black. They're just not. They're just going to say, yep, it's tender. Yep, I like the taste. Or no, this brisket sucks. You get 7s.
So Richard, to answer your question here, what's the difference between the black and golds? So
the price.
Price is, yes, it's a price. But a cow, whenever they go in there, they're going to grade a cow. It's going to be between a gold grade or a black grade. They're actually grading the ribeyes, not grading the briskets.
Yep.
So when they grade that ribeye would tell whether it's going to be a black or a gold. Well, by the time they hit their brisket, the cattle may change a little bit, but that's what they're judging that by. And so they say that, okay, this is a gold grade Wagyu, then that entire cow is a gold grade Wagyu. But the difference is there's more marbling in the golds over the blacks. So it's the big difference between well, I hate to say it that way, but I don't know what the level difference is. I'm not going to compare it to imperial standards because they don't use that. But the fact of the matter is, it's all voluntary. What the Imperials do, what the A9s do, and what the Snake River Farms do, it's an internal standard. It's not a USDA standard. All that's an internal standard. So that's what I go by with that.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I was talking about it this weekend. I'm like, well, you know, it's all graded off the ribeye. You could have a gold graded ribeye and a black graded brisket, or vice versa, off the same cow. You don't know. So if you have the opportunity to go and look at your briskets before you buy them, definitely do it and look for that good marbling and look for how it feels. And, you know, the number one thing I look for is marbling. Granted, a lot of times, last year I ordered mine, so I was kind of luck of the draw. But, you know, one of my sponsors, Northern Barbecue Supply here in Minnesota, they carry Snake River Farms. So when I'm able to get down there, I can kind of hand pick which ones I want, which is a huge, thing. So obviously I'm looking for marbling, and I like a good thick flat. Like I always say, I like the meatloaf flats. Like, give me the big slices, and, but if it came down to it, I'd rather have more marbling and a thinner flat than, a thicker flat with no marbling.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that 100%. I mean, and when we doing it now, the other thing you got to take consideration is when you start, we talking about blacks and golds, not just the cooking process, but how they're going to take the seasoning, how they're going to take the marinades and injections. because they're going to take stuff a little differently. So stick with what you're cooking.
Yeah.
Whatever you start with, whatever you're cooking, if you're going to do this, then perfect that one. Don't go all over the place, because you'll be chasing rainbows and you won't never catch it.
Yeah, you're not going to get a brisket call just because you decide that, I've been cooking blacks and haven't had the success with it, so I'm going to jump over to golds and all of a sudden my brisket's going to start hitting. That's not going to happen, and that's not a good way to think. Number one, if you're just getting into it, keep cooking the blacks because they're cheaper, if anything, and if anything, you're going to have at least some brisket to bring home and eat, and it's not going to break your pocketbook, because this, competitions they're expensive, and especially for people just getting into it. And I'd say just focus on your tenderness game. That's the biggest thing, is just figure out what you're doing to cook the tenderness the right way and consistently, and stick with it, because everyone's using the same sauce. Everyone's using the same rubs or whatever, but it's, by the end of the day, it's a tenderness game, and just, you really want that perfect tenderness.
Now, and that being stated, you can cook a prime in competition barbecue, and people still do it.
Yeah, I know a guy who
eaten
does.
many primes. But the difference between, in my opinion, between a prime and a Wagyu is the window of error. Your window of error cooking a prime is really, really tight. But your window of error cooking a Wagyu competition might be a little bit more. But again, if you cook primes and you're confident with primes and that's what you're doing, and you can get that feel, go for it, man.
Yeah.
You just have to know what you're cooking. But I would lean towards, if you do competition barbecue, you're gonna be serious about competition barbecue, I'd go towards the Wagyu.
Yeah. I know a really good cook from here, and we were talking about it this weekend. He said every once in a while he'll dig through the brisket cases at Costco and he'll find just this beautifully marbled prime, and he's like, I won't hesitate to cook that in a competition. Well, it's marbled. That's what's increasing your margin of error on that brisket is the marbling in there, because if you're cooking a less marbled brisket, that's where you're going to run into problems. So yeah, if you find a good marbled prime and you want to rock it. If you're comfortable with it, I can't say that I would ever do it, but I don't think I could do it.
We done a video a while back comparing the two. And stuff, and there's a noticeable difference when you cook them side by side and you go head to head with them, and you treat them the same, cook them the same. There is a noticeable difference between them. I'm not going to say there's not. There is a noticeable difference between them. But at the end of the day, like Carrie's saying right here, I would stick with one or the other, but I would cook a prime at home until I got comfortable with understanding how the brisket's going to cook, what my smoker's going to do with the brisket, how my rubs will interact, how my injection will interact, and then I would practice at home a Wagyu. But I would practice at home the primes until I got my feet wet and felt confident in that. And then I would go to the Wagyus. I wouldn't just start practicing, would never cook the brisket, so go Wagyu. That I would not recommend.
I've actually never cooked a practice Wagyu brisket.
Really?
Ever. Never. Nope. I've actually never cooked a Wagyu brisket other than at a competition. I've never cooked one at home just to eat. I have one downstairs because I was like, the flat's a little bit small for a comp. I think I'm just going to use this for a eater brisket, and I just haven't had a chance to cook it yet. But yeah, I've never cooked a Wagyu brisket at home for practice. I cooked like the year before last when I was just starting to get into it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna trim up this prime. I'm gonna cook it and see how it goes. And I was like, okay, it's good. And then I went out and bought a black and didn't get a couple calls, and then kind of figured out the tenderness with help from a buddy of mine. And then we're like, all right, we're rolling now. So, but yeah, I'm like, I'm not practicing on $180 brisket. Are you insane?
Well, yeah, I get it. I
wouldn't recommend that, but maybe if I had, I would have figured it out a little sooner. But they cook different. It is what it is.
They do. Take that I tell you, a good video to do is do it on your stick burner. You got to do a comparison between the Wagyu and the prime. Yeah,
that's actually a video I've wanted to do for a long time, and I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
But it is really and truly is different. Now I will say this: if you do that, you cook the point, you will look at the point and be like, okay, this ain't even the same ball game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and being that I don't cook burnt ends, last year I was just trimming off my points, and I was freezing. I was vac sealing them and freezing them, and then I would just cook the points for like football games, or I would cook them up for like chopped brisket tacos or not, like whatever. I had them. This year I'm cubing them up and I'm saving them to make sausage, because I did Snake River Farm black trimmings and Compart Duroc trimmings, and I was making jalapeno cheddar sausages, and oh man, they're so good. And so I'm like, I'm not saving the points. I'm cubing it all up and making burger. I'm making sausages with it. So I have so much trim down in my freezer downstairs. It's insane.
Well, DJ Burgers, we done contests, and Joseph cooked a bunch of Wagyu hemp points ground up for Wagyu burgers. I think DJ had 10 of them.
Oh,
he killed them.
Wow.
I mean, I think it was 7 actually. I'm saying that, but giving a hard time. Now, back up a little bit here. Me and you met at American Royal last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody kind of understands something. We were last year at American Royal just starting. I mean, we were a brand new channel, probably, I don't know, 6 months into it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Had a few videos, whatever, and I've seen your videos and stuff in there. And me and you started talking, and you were like, "Yeah, I know you. I've seen your videos."
Mm-hmm.
Blah blah blah, whatever video it was. And I'm sitting
shotgun shell. It was a shotgun shell video.
Yeah, it was shotgun shell videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there like, "Wait a minute, you got like a bunch of subscribers, been successful in this stuff here." I said, "The hell you doing watching my video?" but that's how we kind of started talking, and kind of got connected and stuff at American Royal.
Yeah. I watch all channels. Like, if it's good content, it's good content. Like, I watch it. Like, I think that, I can, like, you're always learning when you're cooking barbecue, right? Like, there's always something to learn. And I feel like, with the bigger channels, there's only so many videos you can make on cooking ribs. There's only so many videos you can make on cooking brisket. There's only so many, like, eventually you run out of ideas, and you're just like recycling ideas or using them on different cookers or whatever, trying to come up. I mean, it's always a game to try and come up with more content. So for me, I like making the videos, but I love watching YouTube videos, and I like watching all the channels, like from Sam the Cooking Guy down to there's just a guy I started watching not too long ago. I can't remember his name, but he's a competition guy down in Texas, and he's like kind of blown up over the past like month or two, and he's got some really good content. And I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. And I started watching, and like Chud's Barbecue, I started watching him when he had like 2,000 subscribers, and now he's got like 300,000,
Yeah.
And so you never know what's it just takes one video, and then all of a sudden it's like bang, it goes. So yeah, good content's good content. I don't care how many subscribers anyone has. If I can learn something from you and I enjoy your videos, I'm gonna keep watching them.
Hey, I like watching videos, kind of get an idea of what recipes are, what people are doing, but also to look at them kind of how they present themselves and how they're doing to do that. It's good information to come back on. It's kind of helps me as a content creator, in a sense, do a better job.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, like getting comfortable in front of a camera it's not an easy thing. Like, it's not something that ever came natural to me. There's a lot of times where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. And I'm like sweating, and I'm like, why am I sweating in my own living room when it's just me and the camera here? Like, I'm like nervous. And even now, like, I'm pretty comfortable, but I have to be like in the zone. I can't just, flip it on and flip it off. And, but I mean, I like doing it now. It's fun. I hate editing. It's my least favorite thing to do. If I could pay someone to edit my videos, I would. I used to like it, but now it's just like, I'm so over it, and filming, it seems like everything takes longer. And yeah, I don't know. It's a process, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy when the video's done and I get to watch it that final time after it's exported before I've uploaded it. And then there's usually like something in there I'm like, oh, you idiot, how did you miss that? So then I got to go back in, fix it, because I just can't leave it there, and then export it again. And like, all right, I'm not watching it again. It's got to be good to go. And then I upload it, and then I'll usually watch it like the day before it drops, and then I don't ever watch it again.
It's definitely it's getting in front of the camera and talking to. I've never had a problem talking to people, talking in front of a crowd. So that's something that just second nature and stuff. What I found out though is talking to a camera to the person through the camera is I talk too fast. I'm like, I never talk fast in a group or whatever. But now when I'm getting in front of this camera, it's like I can't read body language, and it's just really challenging to slow down because I don't know how they're taking it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had that comment. I've gotten that comment a lot on some of my older videos. Is some guy just wrote, "Dude, chill, take a breath," and I'm like, okay, And then I try to be mindful of that, and then so like my intro, I kind of slow it down, and then by the time I'm explaining things, it's like blah, 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 I'm like, okay, we're gonna redo that. But when you're cooking, you can't just put a brisket back together after you've trimmed it and redo the whole thing.
Yeah. No.
So I shot a video this winter of a burger. So here in Minnesota, we have a burger called the Juicy Lucy. And yeah,
good video.
Yeah, and so I shot the video because I'm like, I don't have this video. I still don't have the video on my channel. So
wait a minute. You don't? Okay.
Chud's dropped it. Chud's dropped it the week after I was going to drop it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm waiting to do it now because I don't want people thinking I'm copying Chud, But I did it, and it was winter time, and I had another video I was filming because I usually try and film like 2 or 3 videos at a time. And so I had cooked it. Everything was good. And I got it zoomed in on the shot, and I'm going to cut it in half. I was like, and this burger is, and I cut it in half and I spread it. And I was like, effing raw, because it was just raw in the middle. And that was it. I put the video away, and it was super funny. Maybe it'll make an outtake sometime, but I was just so mad. And I'm like, all right, I'm waiting to do that video again. But yeah, there's like 3 or 4 videos where I'm like, I'm not posting these unless I absolutely need content because they're just brutal.
I was sitting there cleaning up because one thing about making videos, if we run out of hard drive space.
Yep.
I mean, hard drive is just very, very commodity. But anyhow, I'm sitting going the other day. I'm like, okay, you got 10 gigs of hard drive on the computer. I'm like, well, crap. I got to start culling and stuff. So I got these videos that I made that I'm like, I'm going to remake because there's good B-roll in that video. And I'm going to remake it because I think I got good points into it. But I don't like the whole process. And I'm just like, all right, scrap it. Make the whole thing again.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, I save all my videos. I save them on external hard drive because they're kind of fun to go back and look at. But I save them for that reason. So if I ever want B-roll of something, I have it. But yeah, there's videos that I did like very early on where I'm like, this got good views. I should really remake it now that I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what I'm looking for, and know how I want my videos to come across to the viewers. Because that's the biggest thing is like making YouTube is almost like competition barbecue in the sense where like it's subjective, right? Like what I like isn't what everyone else likes, and what one person likes may not be what another person likes. So you can't appease everyone. So you're just trying to find that balanced flavor that, appeal to the masses. And it's tough sometimes. Like there's sometimes I get comments and I'm like, oh man, I wish you were here to say that to my face.
Oh, dude. That is what truly that's probably what surprised me the most about YouTube videos. And I got off of Reddit. I won't never get back on that crap again.
Yeah.
Those people that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Bam.
Like Twitter.
I mean, I'm sitting going like, I posted a video in there and this guy made comments. I wasn't expecting just the harshness of some of these comments. And I'm like, all right, doing it. And then somebody the other day, I'm kind of gotten a little better at it. When I first started, that really got to me. And somebody put there the other day, I said this on the show a couple times about, I've done a smash burger taco. Yeah, like, I'm tired of people just putting crap between the tacos and calling it a taco. And I seen it back the definition of a Webster definition of a taco. It's putting crap between a fried tortilla. That's a taco.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But it's just some of the comments that just look at and be like, really? You gonna take 2 minutes and do that? Say that?
Oh yeah. Well, number one, how much time do you have on your hand to sit and write out a paragraph comment of everything that I'm doing wrong? And then you don't have a single video on your channel.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and make one. A lot. Most of the time, I usually just delete their comment and block the people. Like, I wish I could see my block list on YouTube because it's probably pretty long. Because it's just gotten to the point now where like I don't have time for this. Like, or I'll block them and I'll clap back and I'll leave my response so just they can see it and they can't respond for a little while, and then I'll delete the thread. But it's just, yeah. I mean, I'm just like, wow, like this is just brutal sometimes, but it is what it is.
I apologize, Derek. You're forgiven now. He's just being a little smarty. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely something you kind of have to say. And we done the video down at Memorial Day weekend. And them got friends of mine, barbecue guys, are cooking with me, and they were like, "Hey, come down here. We'll be at the beach." And it was the windiest, coldest Memorial Day I've ever seen in my life. I'm very lucky we had any audio, which is I was very blessed with that and stuff. Behind we doing this, and they're like, "This is a lot of logistics to put this thing together." I'm like, it is. It's not just go out there cooking and film it and turn it up and be like, all right, I'm done a YouTube video. No, there's a lot of going into planning a video, and I think that's the part that nobody truly understands.
Yeah,
or appreciates at least.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just throwing a camera up and taking a video, and it's the lighting and the angles, and and you still, I mean, I don't know how many videos I have, but I still don't get it right. There's my last rib video I dropped last Friday. I was checking the temperature on the ribs, and it was focused on my shoulder and not the meat, so it was like blurred out where I was checking, and I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So then I went in and checked them again and made sure that everything was good on there. And I film everything myself, so I don't really see anything until it's done. So there's been times where I have forgotten to shoot an intro, and so I got to go back and like shoot an intro and then throw in some B-roll in there just to like try and fill it up. And yeah, I mean, I've literally redone whole videos, like sponsored videos that were like due that day. I've reshot that day, edited that day, and sent off that day because that's when they were due. And I'm like, this is brutal. Why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, I got some people calling about that now.
Yeah.
Derek, to answer your question here about A drive and A roll and B roll. So A roll is a talking head video. It's whenever you're looking at the camera, you're talking. This is what they consider A roll. The B roll video is what we have when we focus on the food, and you can do a voiceover. That's my understanding of it. Anytime you can do a voiceover, that other one can be considered B roll. Is that what you think your understanding is?
Yeah. So if I'm sitting here talking right now and I'm like, okay, today I'm cooking up these awesome burgers, I would include a shot of the burgers that I'm going to be showing you, like the final product, just as some like filler, kind of like a hook. You're like talking about it, and then you're like, okay, these are going to be awesome burgers, and people are like, okay, these are going to be awesome burgers. But then you show them what the burgers look like, and then that might pique their attention and make them want to keep watching to see how did you obtain that final result.
Right. And so kind of what he's talking about in the example he's given here is it's the same type of situation. When you talking, what you don't want to do is have 30 seconds of me telling you what I'm going to cook.
Right.
You put that B-roll into it and be like, all right, we're going to break it up. Be like, okay, here's what we're cooking. Bam. Here's what we're doing. Bam. And that's kind of what the process is, to kind of explain a little bit to break it up and get people hooked into it.
Yeah. And it's tough. I really didn't do that. I've started doing it more. I've started doing it more now just because I think that rather than me doing my intro and just telling what I'm doing, if I can sneak in there a shot of what it's going to look like on the smoker or towards the end, I think it's a little more appealing. And I've also tried to like get my intro shorter and get straight to the point. Like, I'll introduce myself, tell you what we're doing, and then bam, let's get into prepping this. Because if you watch, that first 30 seconds is where it's going to tell you if people are going to keep watching or not. And there's some videos that are great, and there's some videos where it's like done, and I'm like, okay, well, how can I keep their attention just a little bit longer and make them want to watch this? And that was a big one with my competition chicken video. I don't know why like I haven't redone this video yet, because I did it and the lighting was awful. My chicken looked gray in the video, like legitimately gray. And this video took off probably a year after I posted it. It got some decent views, but then it went from probably like 30,000 views to, it's got to be like close to 900 or a million views right now. And everyone was like, the chicken's gray, your chicken's rotten. I'm like, no, it's just, I have really crappy lighting. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know? And it was such a good video. And I should really redo that video. I still haven't done it yet, but I am planning on doing a whole competition meat series on everything, trimming, what I'm looking for the meat, the cooking of it, just the entire process. And I kind of want to do a whole competition series on it because the competition videos had done well for me. And that was, a lot of those are even before, you know, I was really, really into the competitions and really knew what I was doing and had started doing well. But the process really hasn't changed that much. You know, some of the ingredients. And I said in one of the videos, I was like, oh, competition chicken recipe, blah, blah, blah. And I said in the video, I'm like, well, this isn't, you know, my complete competition recipe. It's very simple. It's more about the cooking process and getting the bite through skin. And this guy's like, oh, competition recipe, but it's not a recipe. Okay. Okay.
It does, but then at the same time, to other people out there, it kind of brought the hook into him. And said, okay, what's he doing? What's he going to do? What's he does differently than this?
Mm-hmm.
What's the pieces he not including in this conversation?
Yeah. Well, and I look at my old thumbnails too, and I'm just like, what was I doing? Some of them,
Yeah.
like, woof, you know.
That's the one I've got to work on better. Thumbnails is the most aggravating part of it. So Dean answers his question. You do not get paid to do YouTube videos. What you do is you can get into their ad program where people run the ad on there, and you can get a portion of that ad revenue from that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. We're still new, growing, yada yada yada. So everybody go watch all my videos on YouTube, please.
Yeah.
Watch hours. But that's how you get paid. Now, when we get sponsored by people and they come over here and they come to us and want us to do a video for sponsors, that's just depends on how we work the deal out with that company.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a free product or it could be a paid situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so for me, I typically don't do videos for free product anymore just because I'd have a ton of crap. And so what I usually tell people is go ahead and send me the product. If I like it and it's something I would use, I'll do a video on it. If not, I'm not going to do a video on it, and I'll send it back to you if you want. Otherwise, it is what it is, because I'm not going to sit and hawk something to my viewers just to, you know, make a quick buck. It's not something, if it's not something that I would use or that I don't use or that I don't believe in, I'm never going to do a video on it just because I mean, I don't feel good about that. I wouldn't want to watch someone who I enjoy watching and buy a product that they use and be like, wow, this product is complete garbage, you know? So I don't do that. I've done videos for like some other companies for their channels, and that's a little bit different situation too, because they'll pay me to do the video for their channel. So I've done a couple of those, or like using their product for them to put on their channel. But again, you know, that eats into shooting a video for my channel. So it's kind of finding that balance of, okay, is this something I really want to do? It's a good product. You know, I was doing a lot of videos for cooking pellets for a long time. Really, I love their pellets. Love them. They're awesome pellets. And so I think for like a year and a half, I was doing videos for their channel and stuff like that. And it was really fun. They're a great company. Just kind of parted ways on there, and it is what it is. But I still love their product. It's a great product. I just, you know, it's got to be worth it for me to miss doing a video on my channel for a week in order to do a video for someone else's channel at this point. And that's kind of finding that balance of, is it or is it not, figuring out, you know, how much would I make off this video if it hit versus, you know, what are they willing to pay for the video? So it's a whole new world. I never thought that it was like this. You know, when I first started, I was like, oh, cool. I remember the first month I was monetized and I made like $100, and I was like, this is awesome. It paid for all my meat for the month to do my videos. And now it's just so much beyond that, where it's like mind blowing sometimes.
It is. It's definitely mind blowing. But again, this is for everybody out there watching. You ain't gonna wake up tomorrow morning and start doing this tomorrow, and then next month it's be successful. It don't work that way. So don't get that out your head straight up. It's a lot of fun coming out of doing it, and if you don't enjoy what you're doing here, you'll beat yourself against the wall and you'll quit on it. It's got to be something that you're willing to really truly enjoy and commit to. And I enjoy it because I like the helping people part of it. I mean, I had a guy tell me this weekend, text me on Facebook. He's like, man, I watched the videos. I used the videos. We down here in the contest in Georgia. And it was a non-sanctioned contest. He said, I GC the contest using some information you told me. And we messaged back and forth. I'm like, that is awesome, man. Congratulations. That makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, you were talking about it earlier here.
Yeah, I had a guy come up to me at the contest, and he had cooked backyard, and he showed me his, I think he got 10th place ribs, and he showed me his medal that he got, and he's like, yeah, I watched your video and I ran your timeline, and I got this because of you. And he goes, and my little girls, they watch your video and they always say your intro and stuff like that. And then the next morning at breakfast, we were all getting breakfast, and his little girls came up and they're like, oh, you're Darrin, you say welcome back. And I was like, yeah, I was talking to him, and then I was going up during awards on Sunday, and I walked by him, they're like, hi Darrin. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
It is.
It's
I mean, it's really neat just to be able to come out there and I'll tell everybody the same thing is, you see me in the contest, come here and say hey to me, talk to me.
Yeah.
I mean, please do not feel like that any team out there, go talk to the teams. We find out that passion for barbecue, we'll all talk to you. But you see me, come here and talk to me. Now, if I'm in the middle of doing something turning, I might try and walk back in the trailer, but I'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had that a few times where I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I got to get my chicken in the box. So like stop by after 1:30. Like I'm not trying to be rude, but yeah. And the one time that it got me though, is I was cooking Minnesota in May, which is like our big contest up here. I think it was last year. And my chicken bombed out there, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like my chicken usually does really well, and it bombed. And then some guy commented on my chicken video, and he's like, hey, I got 7th place chicken at Minnesota in May thanks to your video. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Awesome. He's like, I ran this exact recipe. I'm like, okay, well, cool. I'm glad I was happy it helped him, but on the same hand, I'm like, I guess I should have ran the freaking recipe out of my video.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Oh, you just never know.
No, it's barbecue bingo, man. We had a good time with it.
100%.
So are you going back to the Royal this year?
So I didn't realize that it was a 2-year invite until last week when they sent out the email saying, if you qualified last year, you qualify again this year. And so my intention was, yes, like I'm going back to the Royal this year, unless we hit a GC and we get a jack draw. And so that was on Wednesday they sent out that email, and we GC on Saturday. So as of right now, yes, I'm planning on going back to the Royal. Unless we get a jack draw, then I got to go to the jack. It's
oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about doing both. That's just a lot of traveling in 2 weeks, especially from Minnesota down to Kansas is about 7 hours, and then Minnesota out to Lynchburg is about 14 hours. So we'll see what happens if we get that jack draw. But as of right now, yeah, I'm planning on being at the Royal. It was so much fun last year, and then getting the call, it was just like, it was awesome. It was so cool.
It is amazing. We're going back this year.
Oh yeah.
We're going same spot we had last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna borrow some stuff and fly out there this year, though, not drive.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I saw you post that, and I was like, man, that's a good idea. I wonder if I can borrow some stuff if we get called out to the jack. But I don't know. We'll see. It's I mean, a drum's a drum, right?
Drum's a drum.
As long as it says Gateway, I'm cool with it. But I don't know. I've never cooked on any other. I cooked on a homemade drum once, and that I used to have. I built one of the big Papa Smokers drum kits and used that for a while. But now I'm so used to the Gateways and how they run, and I'm just comfortable with them. And even though I don't run my cans anymore, my buddy does that. So he's an early riser, so he gets up at like 3:30 in the morning to work out. And so he gets up and he he gets the brisket and the pork on, and then I get up at 7 to, you know, inject chicken, seasoned ribs, and my alarm says, wake up, inject chicken, seasoned ribs, and make sure Brian hasn't effed anything up yet. And then so once I get up, first thing I do is like, how's that brisket looking? I go out and look at it. I'm like, all right, looks good. And, you know, look at the pork, and I get started on doing what I'm doing. And then he's firing up the rib can when it's time. He fires up the chicken can, and it really, number one, you know, he goes to bed, so I'm a little social butterfly, especially after a few cocktails. I want to go out and talk and have fun and everything else. So being able to sleep until 7 and letting him get up and do his thing has been kind of a blessing. But yeah, him and I had met through YouTube, and I invited him up to Minnesota in May 3 years ago now, because he was kind of curious about competitions and stuff. And so he came and helped me out there. And then he cooked that year by himself, and he had a pretty good year. And then, you know, a couple kids and stuff gets in the way, and he's like, I just don't want to spend the money. I'm like, why don't you just come cook with me? Like we cook well together, you know? And so that's kind of how we got started. And then, you know, I got my brothers that come with and help me from time to time. And my other buddy, Dan, he comes with quite a bit and helps out. And, so it's kind of a revolving door, but it's usually always me and Brian and Dan. And, you know, that's who we were out this past weekend with. And I was like, all right, well, we're the dream team now. We all got to go to the Royal. We all got to go to the Jack. So superstition.
Hey man, it's a lot of fun.
It is.
Brian Corbett, a friend of mine, said he likes Competition barbecue because it reminds him of tailgating. Mm-hmm. It's just go out there, we cooking, have a good time, tailgating. We ain't got to worry about going to the game. We're just gonna have a good time and enjoy it, and we can sleep in the parking lot.
Yep.
And then totally just have a good time with that.
And where
are you cooking at?
You meet the best people, like just great people. You mean, you know, that's half the fun of it. You know, like I said, I'm pretty sociable, and I like going out and meeting new people and stuff, and it's fun. And once you get into it, you're either in it, or you're in it, you know. And I'm in it. And you know, I love it. So where am I cooking next? So I got a couple weeks off. I'm going to use that opportunity to try and get a jump on YouTube videos again for about the next month. So I think July 8th, I'll be down in Spencer, Iowa. It's a new contest down there. It's called RTQ. It's their first year, and they just hit 15 teams. So they're a Jack and Royal qualifier for a new contest. So I'd like to go down there. The following weekend, I'll be down in southern Minnesota, and then I got a weekend off. And then the weekend after that, I'll be in Emmitsburg, Iowa. And then I don't know about any in August. Usually I take August off and then kind of get into, you know, the Royal time and the Jack draw and all that stuff, and kind of make my decisions for that. But, you know, a lot of our local contests are pretty early on in the summer and spring. Last year we had Altoona, and then at the end of the month we had Masters in May out in Wisconsin, and then it was Minnesota in May, and then it was the Bringing Home the Bacon that we were at last weekend, and then it was Owatonna, just down southern Minnesota, and then the next weekend was Bringing Home the Bacon. So it was like 5-6 contests in the span of, you know, 4 or 5 weeks, because, you know, you got the double thrown in there, which I like doubles. You know, you don't got to go anywhere, you don't only travel once, and I like them until Sunday morning when I'm getting up and like, oh, we really got to do this again, huh?
Yeah, I like them until Monday morning. I go to work.
Yeah, I took one
driving
off.
home. I like driving home, trying to go to work Monday morning, and just like, why do I do this stuff? But I'll say one thing about doubles. If you want to sit there and get yourself into a groove, and you need to work yourself in a groove, you can practice at home, and we do a lot of practice at home. I think it's a good thing, but it doesn't take the place of Competition barbecue, because you're doing all 4 meats and stuff. There is a difference. But when you do a double, and you take good notes, keep your mind straight, man, that can help you just dial in your stuff a whole lot better.
Yeah. And even like, do you cook any of the like 1 meat ribs on Friday nights or anything like that? Do you do those?
I have in the past, but I've never really done them with the intention of trying to win. I just usually just do them for the organizers. Yeah.
So I like doing them. So for the longest time, they used to have awards for those on Friday nights. So you could kind of see like how your cook's going. Well, this year they kind of threw us for a loop, and the couple that I did, you did them on Friday night, and then they don't find out until Saturday on awards. I'm like, well, I did this on Friday to see how my flavors were going to hit,
Yeah.
And I mean, I like doing it because I like chasing the rib points. And I'll do the turkey too because it's free and it's fun. I don't put too much effort into the turkey, but it's a good time. But I used to do steak cook-offs a lot because I like doing the ancillaries. But if it comes down to if it comes down to a steak cook-off or a barbecue competition, you'll see me at the barbecue competition 10 times out of 10. Steak cook-offs they're fun. I like that they're a one-day event, but those guys they're into it. Like I usually go there and pound down a case of beer, and I'm like, well, at least we got a steak to eat,
Yeah. So my co-host Justin, he's not on here tonight. He's got some other commitments and stuff. He's going to West Virginia, but he does a lot of steak contests, and just seeing what he goes through, I'm like, dude, that's just as much work as competition barbecue.
Yeah.
Derek, we're not promoting that on this channel for you, buddy. Sorry. Derek's wanting me to post his subscribe page for him, his only new channel he's starting. You see it in the comments? Derek Johnson. You'll get what I'm talking about. Sorry, Derek. I can't help you with that. And I help you with your barbecue channel, but I'm not going to help you with that channel. Lord bless you. Yeah, but I will try, and I'm going to try to talk with Darrin into coming down to your contest in Georgia.
I'll see if I can talk him into it. How far of a drive is that? Let me just look quick.
No. You're going to be flying in and borrowing equipment.
I just want to see Braxley, Georgia. Is that where it was?
Yeah, Braxley, Georgia. It's probably about 20 hours for you.
It's loading right now. It's taking a long time to load. That's not a good thing. Yeah, 20 hours and 38 minutes. Yeah, I'd fly that and take Delta Airlines down. It's a little quicker.
Yeah, fly. We'll bring you some drums.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd like to. I had every intention of getting like a fifth wheel this year. So I have a half-ton truck, and then I figured out that just because it says your truck is rated for this amount of weight, well, there's a lot of variables that come into play on there, like tongue weight and payload and everything. And I'm like, well, my payload's like 1,700 pounds. The trailer's tongue weight alone is like 1,100 pounds. This probably ain't gonna work. And so I'm just trying to find something a little bit smaller. I even thought about like building out my own trailer or something like that. So hopefully by next year we'll have something, because it's not the most cost efficient thing to be renting a rig every weekend, but it's convenient. That's for sure. You show up and the air conditioner's on and the fridge is cold, and you're like, oh, this ain't half bad.
$35,000 payout in Texas. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would. September 8th and 9th.
Our goal is to do a contest in every state. That's our goal. Me and my wife's goal. So I got to figure out how to expand. But
Minnesota.
Go ahead.
Come up to Minnesota in May next year.
Need to. Information on it, definitely do it. Especially I can borrow some equipment out there.
Yeah, I know a guy.
You know a guy.
Yeah.
You know a guy. But to gain sponsors, you give a shout out to?
Yeah, Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. I got on with them last year for Team Northern Fire. Really appreciate them. Compart, Duroc, obviously. Jim and the Compart family are some of the best people around. They are just good people, good product. I've been cooking Compart. This is the third year now, and actually that first Friday night rib burn I did where I cooked Compart, I got first place ribs, and so he was up there with the big check, and I was like, I told you I wouldn't let you down, Jim. And so that was pretty cool. Suckle Busters, I've been with them for a few years now, and that's who my rub is. They take care of making my rub for me and distributing that. My buddy Dan Woods for Tailgaters Barbecue, Dan Woods down in Texas. He's got a food trailer down there. He's a big comp cook. He helped. Actually, I cook his brisket recipe. I have been for the past few years. And then my local Ace Hardware, Coon Rapids Ace Hardware, they keep my drums burning with Blues Hog charcoal. So I appreciate them.
It's good. Good group there.
Yeah.
So you're you cooking in a few weeks. We are off until Maryville. I think last weekend in 23rd, 24th, we'll be down in Maryville, Tennessee, doing that contest. Then we got off of them 4th of July, and then we got Greenwood, and then we're doing Wise, and then got an email today doing Galax. We're doing MBN, see what that turns out to be.
Wow.
That's going to be.
How many are you cooking this year then?
We'll probably hit 19.
Wow. Yeah.
15 to 19. I don't know yet. Hadn't looked at the schedule hard. We wasn't planning on doing that much. We come out of the gate swinging pretty good. I'm like, well, let's keep rolling. See what happens.
That's just it. Once you get into it and you're doing well, you're like, well, I wanted to stay within 6 hours, but is 8 hours, 2 more hours really? Yeah. I hear you. I said this year we would probably do like 6 or 7, but I think we've already gotten with the double. We've already got 4 or 5 under our belts. Well, Minnesota in May, Owatonna, you got 4 under our belts, and then got 3 in July. And if you count the Royal, that's a double. And so there's another one in October out here. They got to bring home the bacon too. That's just a single out in October out in Wisconsin. So we'll probably go do that one again, just because it's nice cooking in fall weather, man. Hoodies and jeans and not sweating all the time.
Yeah, I want to go there and do a contest in that part of the country, and then go pheasant hunting.
Yeah,
that's what I would love to do.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be North South Dakota. That'd be a good spot to go. Southern Minnesota.
Yeah, we've been out there a couple of times. It's a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, it is.
Well, listen, appreciate y'all watching that. Hey, check out other videos we got, or other podcasts we've got. You go on YouTube Music and check out the podcast. Go on YouTube channel if y'all hadn't yet. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos, watch some videos, and watch that Baby Back Rib video with them Memorial Day weekend. That's a lot of fun. Sponsors we got, great group of sponsors. We got Atlanta Barbecue Store, we got Snake River Farms, we got Recteq, Royal Oak Charcoal, and Heath Riles Barbecue. All the information is down below in the descriptions. Check it out. I appreciate y'all watching. Tune in next week. We'll be back with another show, another great one. Appreciate y'all watching.